I was crying angry tears. And I told them that either he leaves or I burn the office down. That was the anger I felt. And the situation honestly has not changed much for a lot of people in the industry. And I'm not saying this to discourage the women here sitting here to join the media industry. No, in fact, I want you to go equipped to fight these battles. Because as each one of us fight the battle, it makes it easier for the next generation that comes. And it's only because people fought do we have now the posh act in place. Do we now have, and only because women raised their voice during the Me Too movement, do we now, are men at least more sensitized about what workplace harassment entails? I know after Me Too how scared men suddenly became, or how aware they became of what constitutes workplace harassment. Now you know the situation is not much better in the entertainment industry. We all know women are often portrayed in stereotypical roles, often damsels in distress. And what this does is it reinforces harmful gender norms and continues to perpetuate discrimination. It is important to note that women are not a monolithic group, and our experiences as women are shaped by factors such as class, caste, religion, privilege, and sexual orientation. So it is really important that we have women from diverse backgrounds being represented in media and their voices heard. Now coming to this other additional layer that I just brought about, and I'll only take one layer, which is caste. A topic that makes all of us uncomfortable, and rightfully so. It should cause discomfort. Did you know, for instance, that about 90% of leadership positions in Indian media are occupied by upper caste groups, with not even a single Dalit or Adivasi heading an Indian mainstream media? Just think about that. 90% of Indian mainstream media houses are headed by upper caste people. And there's not one Dalit Adivasi heading any newsroom. This is reflected in how the issues of this community are covered. Take for example the Hathras case. Why is it that issues of Dalit people are only spoken about only when a major caste crime happens? And even when a caste crime happens, we have seen with Hathras how mainstream media plays in tango with the government or with the regimes in place. We have seen with Rohit Vemula how his case was turned, twisted, thrown around, turned upside down, to the point that you had a minister telling in the parliament that, but he was not Dalit, he is not, denying his caste identity. This is how pervasive the issue is. It is only now thanks to social media and internet that are we seeing more digital Dalit newsrooms. For example, just 2 days ago, Meena Kotwal, who runs a digital Dalit newsroom called Mook Naik, was featured in the prestigious New York Times for subverting an entire class, caste, gender situation that our Indian media has made. Meena Kotwal is an amazing woman. She goes reporting with her child in tow. Her husband supports her work. He does whatever he can so that she can go out reporting. Now, who we read, who tells our stories, and why they are telling these stories matters. Another journalist, Ankur Paliwal, he recently started Queerbeat, India's first digital newsrooms for stories from the LGBTQI+ community. As consumers of media, these issues of media ownership, media diversity should matter to all of us. We are in 2023, right? 2023. And it is critical that media organizations conduct a significant overhaul of hiring practices and ensure that newsrooms across the country become more diverse and inclusive. A couple of years ago, the BBC was faced with this same sort of a dilemma. How do we make the newsroom more diverse? Because they realized that more than 50%, or I think close to 70% of their panelists were men. They're also mostly white men. The diversity, and it was not reflecting the community that the British society was. So they started a project called 50s to 50. And essentially what they did is that they took one newsroom and they decided that in this newsroom 50% of the issues would be linked to women, and 50% of the issues the other, covering the other issues. And they consciously put this practice into their hiring. They consciously put this into the panelists they were inviting, into the guest spots they were inviting. And what has now happened is that close to 740 other newsrooms or within BBC and others have now adopted this 50s to 50 policy. So it does take some amount of time, it does take some amount of dedication to think about this. And but it takes an army of people to do it. And this is a struggle that we see across sectors. For example, diversity, equality and inclusion are now buzzwords, but actually implementing them takes a lot. It takes a lot even financially. For instance, it is important for us to shift out of thinking that things should be different. We all say this, oh, things should be different. चीजों को बदलना है, कैसे भी बदलना है. But we don't ask what should I do differently. Now, asking this question to yourself will cause a lot of discomfort. When I ask myself these questions and discuss it with my mentors and advisors, it caused a lot of churning inside. Because it meant that I had to come face to face with my own privilege of my caste identity, of my class identity, and what it meant to be a Savarna woman trying to make my newsroom inclusive. Do I even have a say in this? So for me, this is akin to asking whether we want to be a bystander or whether we want to confront the situation, right? However tough that confrontation may be. So, can I, being a heterosexual woman wanting to champion LGBTQI voices, can I do that? Of course I can. But for that, I need to give away power. I need to step aside and pass the mic. I need to say, here's the mic. I am nobody to tell these stories. You tell the stories. I don't know your community. I don't know about this. You educate me. You tell me what needs to be covered in this. So my role, therefore, as editor-in-chief is to be guided by my peers to tell me that, hey, these are the issues that you're missing out. These are the gaps, right? And I realized that at a very personal level, I've noticed that how an issue is covered and how fair it is and how equitable it is directly linked to how diverse your team is. Another way to ensure gender equity is in content is to ensure equity in content creators. I believe if newsrooms don't reflect society, the content it produces won't either, right? The other thing that we constantly hear is this really amazing word called engagement. I'm sure all of you have heard about this. Engagement on social media, engagement with newsrooms, engagement. How do you engage the audience, right? I believe it's the buzzword of the decade. But then, can you truly engage with audiences without representing the diversity of your communities? Well, that's some food for thought for all of us. We also need to ask how many glass ceilings need to be broken by women. And why is it that every year these glass ceilings only seem to go higher and higher for us, right? Why? And why is it that men don't want to give a seat on their table? I guess it's because we cause them a lot of discomfort. So if they don't want to give a seat on their table, let's go ahead and make our own table. Thank you.